Don't look at me like that. Amara's voice cut through the bass-heavy pulse of the hotel bar. The stranger, expensive suit, sharp jawline, eyes that could dissect a soul, leaned closer across the marble counter. Like what? His accent carried the faintest edge of soul. His cologne was cedar and danger. Like you know what I'm thinking. I do know. He traced the rim of his whiskey glass with one finger, slow and deliberate. You're thinking about running. Or staying. You can't decide which terrifies you more. Heat crawled up Amara's neck. She should leave. Should finish her champagne, grab her coat, and disappear into the Manhattan night like she'd planned. This bar was supposed to be empty at midnight. Anonymous. Safe. He wasn't safe. You're wrong, she lied. Am I? He shifted, closing the space between them by inches. Then why are your hands shaking? She looked down. Her fingers trembled against the stem of her glass. Damn it. Bad day at work, she said. Celebrating or drowning? Does it matter? His smile was slow, predatory. Not really. Either way, you're here. Alone. In a hotel bar at 11:47 on a Tuesday night, wearing a dress that says you want to be seen but sitting in the corner that says you don't. Before I tell you what happened next, subscribe to Mystic Tale by Luna and comment where you're watching from. Amara should have been offended. Should have thrown her drink in his face and walked out. But something in his voice, confident without cruelty, observant without judgment, pinned her to the leather bar stool. Maybe I like contradictions, she said. Maybe you're tired of being predictable. The words hit like a palm to the sternum. She was predictable. Safe. The girl who color-coded her calendar and never missed a deadline. The one her grandmother raised to be respectable, responsible, and ruthlessly controlled. Tonight was supposed to be different. One drink, the stranger said. One conversation. If you want to leave after, I won't stop you. And if I don't want to leave, his eyes darkened. Then I'll give you a night you won't forget. The choice hung between them, sharp as broken glass. Amara drained her champagne. What's your name? Does it matter? Not really. He stood, extended his hand. Then, let's not complicate things. She took it. His palm was warm, calloused in a way that said he worked for his money, not inherited it. He pulled her to her feet with the kind of certainty that made her knees weak. The elevator ride was silent torture. 47 floors of polished mirrors and mounting tension. She watched him in the reflection, watched the way his jaw tightened, the way his thumb brushed across her knuckles in slow, deliberate strokes. You can still change your mind, he said quietly. I know, but you won't. It wasn't a question. The elevator chimed. Penthouse suite. He led her down a hallway that smelled like money and jasmine, swiped a keycard, pushed open the door. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the city, like a painting. Central Park spread dark and infinite to the north. The suite was all clean lines and expensive minimalism. Amara stepped inside. The door clicked shut behind her. And then his hands were on her waist, spinning her around, backing her against the wall with the kind of controlled strength that made her breath catch. Tell me to stop, he whispered against her ear. She couldn't speak, couldn't think, couldn't do anything but feel the heat of his body and the thunder of her pulse. Her grandmother's locket, gold, antique, always worn, slipped free as he pulled her closer. It hit the floor with a soft clink. Neither of them noticed. Amara woke to silk sheets and regret. 6:42 a.m. The digital clock on the nightstand glowed accusatory red. The stranger was gone. She sat up, surveying the damage. Her dress pooled on the floor. Her heels kicked to opposite corners. The city stretched beyond the windows, washed in early morning gray. On the pillow next to her, a note on hotel stationery. You were extraordinary. Jay. That was it. No number. No name. No trace. Her hands shook as she searched for her locket. She tore through the sheets, checked the floor, the bathroom, under the bed. Nothing. Panic climbed her throat. That locket was all she had left of her grandmother. The woman who'd raised her after the accident. Who'd taught her strength and dignity and self-control. all thrown away in one impulsive, reckless night. Amara showered fast, scalding hot, trying to scrub away the memory of his hands. She called a car, raced home to her apartment in Brooklyn, changed into her most severe suit, charcoal gray, buttoned to the throat. By 8:47 a.m., she was walking through the chrome and glass lobby of Hexagon Media Group, makeup perfect, expression calm. No one could know. No one could ever know. Amara. She turned. Rachel Voss materialized from the executive elevator, all sharp angles and sharper ambition. The VP of Operations had been circling the CEO position for years, only to be passed over 3 times. Big day, Rachel said, scanning Amara's face with surgical precision. New CEO announcement at 9:15. Try not to look so disheveled. Amara's stomach dropped. I'm fine. Of course you are. Rachel's smile was all teeth. Though I'd fix your collar. It's crooked. She walked away before Amara could respond. In the bathroom mirror, Amara's reflection stared back, pale, tight-lipped, terrified. Her collar was perfect. Rachel was fishing. She knows. How could she possibly know? The all-hands meeting packed the main auditorium. 300 employees crammed into theater seating, buzzing with speculation. The old CEO had retired suddenly. The board's choice for replacement had been kept secret. Amara found a seat in the middle section, far enough back to blend in. Her phone buzzed. Text from her friend Maya in accounting. Asterisk heard the new CEO is Korean. Like, Seoul money Korean. Asterisk. The lights dimmed. A figure walked onto the stage. Tall. Dark suit. Confident stride. Amara's blood turned to ice. No. No, no, no. It was him. The stranger. The man whose hand she still felt, whose voice still echoed in her head. He stopped at the podium, scanned the crowd with the same intensity he'd used in the hotel bar, and found her. Their eyes locked. Recognition flared hot and immediate. He smiled. Not friendly. Not professional. Possessive. Around his wrist, barely visible under his cuff as he adjusted the microphone, was a flash of gold. Her locket. Good morning, he said, voice carrying through the speakers like silk over steel. I'm Jae-Hyun Park, your new CEO. I'm looking forward to working with each of you to elevate Hexagon to the next level. Amara couldn't breathe. Couldn't move. The room tilted. He was still looking at her. We'll be making some immediate changes to the leadership structure, Jae-Hyun continued. Particularly in our marketing division. I believe in recognizing talent when I see it. Please don't. Please. Amara Vance. Her name echoed through 300 pairs of ears. Everyone turned to look at her. Could you stay after? Jae-Hyun's voice was perfectly professional, perfectly casual. I'd like to discuss your promotion. The way he said promotion made it sound like a threat. Or a promise. Rachel Voss, seated 3 rows ahead, turned to stare. Her expression was unreadable. The meeting continued. Jae-Hyun talked about quarterly projections and strategic initiatives. Amara heard none of it. Blood roared in her ears. Her hands gripped the armrests until her knuckles went white. This couldn't be happening. When the meeting finally ended, employees filed out in excited clusters. Promotions. New leadership. Change. Amara stayed frozen in her seat. Jae-Hyun remained on stage, speaking quietly with the CFO. He dismissed the man with a nod, then turned his attention back to her. Slowly, deliberately, he pushed up his sleeve. Her grandmother's locket glinted in the overhead lights, wrapped around his wrist like a claim. He crooked one finger. Come here. Amara's legs moved without permission. Down the aisle, up the stage steps, across the expanse of polished wood until she stood 3 feet from the man who'd seen her completely undone. Mr. Park, she started. My office, he said quietly. 10 minutes. I don't think. That wasn't a request, Amara. The way he said her name, like he'd tasted it, memorized it, owned it, sent heat coursing through her veins. He leaned closer, voice dropping to a whisper only she could hear. You left something behind. I've been waiting to return it. Then he walked past her, close enough that she caught his cologne, the same cedar and danger from last night, and disappeared through the executive exit. Amara stood alone on the empty stage, heart hammering, world crumbling. The CEO knew her secret, and he had no intention of letting her forget it. Sit. Jae-Hyun's office occupied the entire 47th floor. Wall-to-wall windows. A desk that cost more than Amara's car. Minimalist art that screamed old money. The door clicked shut behind her. He turned the lock. Amara remained standing. Mr. Park. You tasted like champagne and fear. He didn't look up from the papers on his desk, signing something with casual authority. His voice was conversational, like he was discussing quarterly earnings.
Sit down.
Her legs obeyed before her brain could protest. The leather chair was too soft, too low. It put her at a disadvantage. He knew that. Jae-Hyun finally looked up, and the weight of his attention was suffocating. He opened a drawer, pulled out her grandmother's locket, and slid it across the polished surface. You forgot something. Amara stared at the gold chain. Her throat tightened. That was a mistake. It won't happen again. The only mistake was you leaving before I woke up. He leaned back, studying her like she was a puzzle he intended to solve. Why did you run? Because I didn't know who you were. And now that you do? Now I'm asking you to forget that night ever happened. His laugh was quiet, dangerous. Forget? Amara, I've replayed every second in my head for the past 12 hours. The way you trembled when I touched your wrist. The sound you made when... Stop. Her voice cracked. You can't talk to me like this. You're my boss. I'm aware of the power dynamic. Then you know this is... inevitable? He stood, circled the desk with predatory grace. I didn't plan this. I took this position 3 weeks ago, long before I knew you worked here. But now that I do know... He stopped behind her chair. I'm not walking away. She felt him before he touched her, heat radiating, cologne wrapping around her senses. Special projects manager, he said quietly. 200,000 base salary. You'll report directly to me. Close collaboration on all major campaigns. That's a promotion you've earned. Your pitch deck on the rebranding initiative? Brilliant. I've read all your work, Amara. You're wasted in your current position. She twisted to look at him. This isn't about my work. It's about both. His hand rested on the back of her chair, not touching her but close enough to make her pulse spike. I want your mind in my boardroom and your body in my bed. I don't see why we can't have both. Because it's inappropriate. Illegal, probably. Inappropriate if it's coercion. This isn't coercion. He moved to face her, crouched down so they were eye level. You can refuse the promotion. Keep your current job. I won't penalize you professionally. But I will make your working life complicated. Not because I'm vindictive. Because every time I see you, I'm going to remember the way you looked at me when you said yes. And you're going to remember what it felt like to stop being perfect for one night. The truth of it hit like a fist. She did remember. Her body remembered. The ache between her thighs, the ghost of his hands, the way he'd looked at her like she was the only thing that mattered. Amara reached for the locket. Their fingers brushed. Electricity. I'll take the promotion, she whispered. But we keep things professional. Jae-Hyun smiled. Of course. He was lying. They both knew it. 9 p.m. Most of the office had emptied hours ago. Amara sat in her new corner office, glass walls, view of the Hudson, furniture that still smelled like leather, trying to focus on campaign analytics. Jae-Hyun appeared in her doorway, without knocking. Hungry. She looked up. He'd loosened his tie, rolled up his sleeves. He looked human. Dangerous. I'm working. So am I. We can work over food. He held up takeout bags. Thai. You like Thai, right? Her stomach betrayed her with a growl. She hadn't eaten since breakfast. How did you? Your Instagram. You posted about that restaurant in Williamsburg. He stepped inside, set the bags on her conference table. Pad CEW. Extra vegetables, medium spice. And spring rolls. Her exact order. You stalked my social media? I did my research. I research everything I want to acquire. He unpacked the containers with efficient movements. Why marketing? The question caught her off guard. What? You could have done anything. Law, medicine, finance. Why marketing? Amara hesitated. This felt like a trap, like he was building a file on her weaknesses. But something in his expression, genuine curiosity, maybe, loosened her tongue. My grandmother. She took the food he offered. She raised me after my parents died. Car accident when I was 12. She worked 3 jobs to keep me in private school. That's why you're so driven. That's why I can't afford mistakes. She met his eyes. Like sleeping with my CEO. Tell me about her. Your grandmother.
Why?
Because I want to know you. The real you, not the armor you wear. Against her better judgment, Amara talked. About Sunday dinners and church hats. About learning to cook jollof rice and listening to old Motown records. About the locket, given to her grandmother by her grandfather before he died in Korea. She told me to be strong, Amara said quietly. To never let anyone take advantage of me. Jae-Hyun was silent for a moment. Then he reached across the table, fingertips brushing the locket where it now rested against her collarbone. She'd be proud of you. The tenderness in his voice cracked something in her chest. For one moment, he wasn't her CEO or the stranger from the hotel. He was just a man who saw her. Then movement outside the glass wall. Rachel Voss, walking past with her tablet, glancing in at them with calculating eyes. Amara jerked back. She saw. Let her see. You don't understand. Rachel wanted your job. She's been gunning for CEO for 3 years. I know. I also know she's been embezzling from the discretionary fund. Jae-Hyun's voice hardened. I have forensic accountants reviewing everything. She's good, but she's not that good. You're investigating her? I investigate everyone. He stood, collecting the empty containers. Get some rest, Amara. Tomorrow's going to be intense. He left before she could respond. Through the glass, she watched him disappear into the elevator. Her office suddenly felt too big, too quiet. And Rachel Voss was still watching. Day 2 hit like a hurricane. The board meeting started at 8 a.m. sharp. 15 executives around an obsidian table. Amara presented her rebranding campaign, 6 months of research compressed into 30 slides. She was brilliant. She knew she was brilliant. Jae-Hyun watched from the head of the table, expression unreadable. When she finished, he nodded. Thoughts. Murmurs of approval. The CFO called it innovative. The CMO wanted to fast-track production. Then Rachel spoke. This seems personal. Her voice was honey over arsenic. Mr. Park, you've been very invested in Ms. Vance's work. Are we sure we're making objective decisions here? The room went silent. Amara's hands fisted under the table. My campaign speaks for itself. I'm sure it does. But perception matters. People talk. Rachel smiled. I'm just concerned about the company's reputation. If you do the same thing, subscribe to Mystic Tale by Luna, and tell me where you're watching from. Jae-Hyun's expression could have frozen fire. Ms. Voss, are you questioning my judgment or Ms. Vance's competence? Neither. I'm questioning the optics. Then let me make the optics clear. He stood, commanding the room with sheer presence. Amara Vance is the most talented marketer in this building. I promoted her because she earned it. If anyone has concerns about my decision-making, they can bring them to me privately. We're done here. He walked out. The meeting dissolved into awkward shuffling. Amara gathered her materials with shaking hands. Rachel leaned close as she passed. Careful, dear. Men like him collect pretty things. They get bored easily. And women like you? Amara kept her voice level. What do they collect?
Power.
At any cost. Rachel's smile was sharp. I'll be watching. The elevator. Just Amara, descending from 47 to 33. The doors started to close. A hand shot through. Jae-Hyun. He stepped inside. The doors sealed them in together. 47 floors of privacy. She suspects, he said quietly. Because you can't stop looking at me like. Like I remember every sound you made? He moved closer, one hand braced against the wall beside her head. Not touching, barely breathing. I do, Amara. Every single one. She pressed back against the mirror. We can't do this here. Do what? I'm standing in an elevator with my employee. Perfectly appropriate. But his voice was low, intimate. Tell me you haven't thought about it. That night. Tell me you don't feel this. What I feel doesn't matter. It's the only thing that matters. His thumb traced her jawline, featherlight. I could have had anyone. I've had everyone. But you? You're the one I can't forget. The elevator chimed. Floor 33. The doors opened. Rachel Voss stood there, eyes widening slightly as she took in the scene. Jae-Hyun inches from Amara, his hand still raised near her face. Going down. Rachel's voice was pleasant. Victorious. Jae-Hyun stepped back smoothly, expression shifting to neutral professionalism. Ms. Voss. I was just discussing the campaign timeline with Amara. Of course. Rachel entered the elevator, positioning herself between them. I hope I'm not interrupting. Not at all. The descent was torture. 47 floors of silence, and Rachel's knowing smirk. When the doors finally opened in the lobby, Rachel exited first. She paused, glanced back. Enjoy your evening, Mr. Park. Ms. Vance. The emphasis on Vance felt like a threat. Jae-Hyun waited until she disappeared. Then he turned to Amara. My place tonight. 9 p.m. We need to talk about Rachel. Your place? Absolutely not. Then she wins. She'll spread rumors, plant evidence, make your life hell. We need to strategize. Or we could stop giving her ammunition. Running away again? The challenge in his voice was deliberate. I thought you said Amara Vance doesn't make mistakes twice. She hated that he was right. Hated more that her body was already saying yes. 9 p.m., she agreed. But we're actually talking strategy. Nothing else. His smile was slow, dangerous. Of course. Another lie. Day 3. Rachel's office, 6:47 a.m. She'd arrived early, as always. First in, last out. That's how you climb. Her computer screen glowed blue in the pre-dawn darkness. Security footage, archived. She'd spent 3 days reviewing every camera in the building, every timestamp, every angle. And she'd found it. Hotel lobby. Madison and 58th, night of the board announcement. Timestamp, 11:49 p.m. Jae-Hyun Park entering the Meridian Hotel. 3 minutes later, Amara Vance, walking through the same doors. Neither left until morning. Rachel downloaded the files to an encrypted drive. Backed them up twice. Sent copies to 3 separate email accounts. She leaned back in her chair, allowed herself one moment of satisfaction.
Got you.
Her phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Asterisk, I have information about Park and Vance. Interested? Asterisk. Rachel's pulse quickened. She typed back. Who is this? Asterisk, someone who wants to see Park gone, as much as you do. Meet me at Café Noir. Noon. Asterisk. This was almost too easy. But Rachel didn't believe in luck. She believed in leverage. And she was about to have enough leverage to destroy them both. She pulled up Amara's employment file. Scrolled through performance reviews, background checks, medical records.
Wait.
Medical records. Rachel's eyes widened as she read. Then she started laughing. Oh, this was perfect. Better than perfect. This was nuclear. Talk to me. Jae-Hyun's voice cut through the hum of the private jet engines. They were somewhere over the Pacific, 7 hours into the flight to Singapore. The cabin was all cream leather and polished wood, corporate luxury at 40,000 feet. Amara looked up from her laptop. About what? Anything but work. She'd been avoiding his eyes since takeoff. The past 3 days had been professional torture, late meetings, stolen glances, Rachel watching their every move like a hawk circling prey. There's nothing to talk about. Liar. He closed his own laptop, gave her his full attention. You've been different since the elevator. Since Rachel saw us. Because she did see us. And now she's building a case. Let her build. I'm not afraid of Rachel Voss. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. I'm more concerned about you shutting me out. I'm not. You are. You've perfected the art of being present while completely absent. I want to know why. The question hung between them, heavier than the recycled air. Outside the window, clouds stretched endless and white. Amara closed her laptop. If they were going to have this conversation, she needed both hands free. My parents died when I was 12, she said quietly. Car accident on the FDR. Drunk driver ran a red light. Jae-Hyun's expression shifted, not pity, but recognition. Like he understood loss. My grandmother took me in. She was 63, worked as a housekeeper at a hotel in Midtown. She'd clean rooms for 12 hours, then come home and help me with homework. Amara touched her locket. She taught me that control was survival, that feelings were luxuries poor black girls couldn't afford. So you built walls. I built fortresses. She met his eyes. And then you came along and tore them down in one night. Is that what scares you? That you let someone in? That I let myself feel something? Her voice cracked. I was 27 years old, and I'd never let anyone close enough to hurt me. Until you. The confession settled between them like a living thing. Jae-Hyun was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood, crossed to her side of the cabin, and sat beside her. Close enough to touch, but carefully not touching. My mother died when I was 8, he said.
Cancer.
My father remarried within 6 months, some socialite from Gangnam who wanted the Park fortune, not the Park children. Children? I had a brother. Younger. Jinwoo. His jaw tightened. He died when I was 19. And, before you ask, no, I don't talk about it. Amara understood boundaries. She nodded. My point is, Jae-Hyun continued, I know what it's like to build walls. To make yourself untouchable. But that night with you? He finally looked at her. I wasn't untouchable. I was just human. Until you became my boss. Until fate decided to complicate things. His hand moved to hers, tentative. But I'm not sorry, Amara. Not for any of it. She should pull away. Should maintain professional distance. Should remember that Rachel was probably having them followed. Instead, she laced her fingers through his. I'm terrified, she whispered. Of me. Of how much I want this. Want you. Even when I know it could destroy everything I've worked for. Then we're even. Because you terrify me too. He brought her hand to his lips, kissed her knuckles. I've never wanted to know someone before. Not like this. The jet tilted slightly, banking toward Singapore. The seatbelt light dinged on. But neither of them moved. The Raffles Hotel stood white and colonial in the tropical heat. Their rooms were on the same floor, separate but connected by an interior door that neither acknowledged during check-in. The conference lasted 4 hours. Amara presented their rebranding pitch to a room of stone-faced executives. She was sharp, compelling, unstoppable. Jae-Hyun watched her command the room and felt something shift in his chest. This wasn't just attraction anymore. This was something far more dangerous. At midnight, she knocked on the connecting door. He opened immediately, like he'd been waiting. Hoping. I can't stop thinking about, she started. He kissed her. Not the demanding possession from the hotel. This was a question, gentle and seeking. She answered by pulling him closer. They stumbled toward the bed, shedding corporate armor, his tie, her blazer, the professional masks they wore like second skins. When he laid her down on Egyptian cotton sheets, he paused. This is different, he said softly. I know. If we do this, I won't be able to pretend anymore. Won't be able to keep you at arm's length. Then don't. She cupped his face. I don't want distance. I want this. Want you. What followed wasn't the desperate, anonymous passion of their first night. This was slower, deeper. Every touch deliberate. Every kiss a revelation. Afterward, they lay tangled together, curtains open to the Singapore skyline. Have you ever felt this? Comment your experience, and where you're watching from. Asterisk. Jae-Hyun traced patterns on her shoulder blade, following invisible constellations. I need to tell you something, he said finally. Amara's body tensed. What? That night at the hotel. It wasn't chance. Her blood went cold. She sat up, pulling the sheet around her. What are you talking about? I'd seen you before. Corporate event 3 months ago, the merger announcement. You were presenting market analysis. Completely brilliant, slightly terrifying. He sat up too, meeting her eyes. I couldn't stop watching you. Couldn't stop thinking about you. So you followed me?
No. God, no.
I went to that bar trying to forget you. I just accepted the CEO position. I knew getting involved with an employee would be complicated, possibly career-ending. I went there to drink you out of my system. And there I was. And there you were, looking like every fantasy I'd been fighting. I told myself I'd leave. I'd finish my drink and walk away. His laugh was bitter. I lasted about 30 seconds before I had to talk to you. Amara processed this, anger and understanding warring in her chest. Why didn't you tell me? Because I wanted one night where I wasn't the CEO, where you weren't evaluating whether I was worth the risk. I wanted you to choose me because you wanted me, not because of my title or my influence. And the next day, when you called me to your office, I panicked. I'd never felt like that before. That desperate, that consumed. I thought if I could keep you close, control the situation, maybe I could figure out what the hell you'd done to me. He reached for her hand. I was wrong. You can't control this. Can't strategize feelings. She wanted to be angry, wanted to feel manipulated. But the raw honesty in his voice disarmed her. Was any of it real? She asked quietly. All of it. He pulled her back down, wrapped around her like she might disappear. The most real thing in my life. I just didn't count on this. On what? On wanting more than one night. On waking up thinking about you. On sitting in board meetings fantasizing about making you laugh. He kissed her temple. On falling for you so hard I can't see straight. Amara closed her eyes, let herself sink into him. We're going to have to tell people eventually. About us. I know. Rachel will crucify us. Let her try. I'm done hiding. They fell asleep wrapped together, vulnerable and exposed and completely sure. It was the last moment of peace they'd have. Day 6 exploded before breakfast. Amara's phone buzzed at 6 a.m. Singapore time. Email from Rachel. Emergency board meeting. 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Virtual attendance mandatory. Then a second email, subject, concerns regarding executive conduct. Her stomach dropped. Jae-Hyun's phone went off simultaneously. He read the message, went rigid. She's making her move, he said. They dressed in silence, caught the first flight back. 17 hours of crushing anxiety, knowing what waited on the other side. The boardroom felt like a tribunal. 15 faces on the screen, virtual attendance due to confidentiality concerns. Rachel sat at the physical table, immaculate in navy Armani, looking like victory personified. Thank you all for attending on short notice, she began, voice smooth. I've become aware of situations that pose significant liability to Hexagon Media Group. Jae-Hyun sat at the head of the table, expression carved from ice. Amara stood against the wall, not officially invited but summoned anyway. Rachel pulled up a presentation. First slide, hotel security footage. The timestamp gut-punched Amara. The night before Mr. Park's first day as CEO, Rachel narrated, both he and Ms. Vance checked into the Meridian Hotel. Same entrance, 3 minutes apart. Neither left until morning. Murmurs from the virtual attendees. That alone might be dismissed as coincidence. But observe the pattern. More slides. Expense reports highlighting dinners, late meetings, the Singapore trip with adjoining rooms. Mr. Park has shown uncharacteristic favoritism toward Ms. Vance. A promotion within days of starting. Salary increase of 43%. Exclusive assignments. The CFO spoke up from a screen. Those decisions were merit-based. Ms. Vance's work speaks for itself. Does it? Rachel smiled. Or are we allowing personal relationships to cloud professional judgment? This creates hostile work environment claims. Liability issues. I've already fielded complaints from 3 female employees about preferential treatment. Jae-Hyun leaned forward. Name them. Confidential at this stage. But the pattern is clear. Either Ms. Vance resigns, or we launch a formal investigation that will drag this company through public scandal. Investigate. Jae-Hyun's voice could cut diamonds. I have nothing to hide. Nothing. Rachel's smile widened. She produced a file folder, slid it across the table. Not even the fact that Amara Vance was a virgin when she slept with you? The room went silent. Amara's vision blurred at the edges. Those were her medical records. Private. Sealed. That's a HIPAA violation, she managed. Acquired through legitimate discovery channels, Rachel lied smoothly. The point stands. Ms. Vance was inexperienced, possibly coerced by a powerful man offering career advancement. That's textbook sexual harassment. Quid pro quo. We're looking at lawsuits, Mr. Park. Millions in settlements. Damaged reputation that will tank our stock price. The chairman cleared his throat from the screen. This is deeply troubling. It's also illegal, Jae-Hyun said quietly. Too quietly. You access sealed medical files, Rachel. That's a federal crime. I did no such thing. The files came to me anonymously. Liar. Rachel's mask slipped for half a second. Then she recovered. The board needs to vote. Either Ms. Vance resigns immediately, or Mr. Park faces investigation for misconduct. We cannot afford.
No.
Everyone turned. Amara stepped forward, hands shaking but voice steady. How dare you, she said, advancing on Rachel. How dare you weaponize my privacy, my choices, my body to play your political games. Ms. Vance, I'm simply protecting. You're protecting your ego. You wanted that CEO position. You've wanted it for years. And when the board chose someone better, you decided to destroy him using me. Rachel stood, trying to reclaim authority. This isn't personal. It's business. Everything is personal when you violate someone's medical records. When you twist intimacy into ammunition. Amara turned to the camera, addressing the board directly. I slept with Jae-Hyun Park. Once before he became CEO, when neither of us knew our connection. And again after, because I chose to. Not because he coerced me. Not because he promised anything. Because I wanted him. That's not. Rachel started. Save it. You're done. Pack your desk. The voice came from behind them. Jae-Hyun stood, phone in hand. No, he said calmly. She's not going anywhere. Everyone froze. She's not. The chairman looked confused. She's not. Jae-Hyun repeated, looking directly at Amara. Steel and certainty, and something that looked like love. Because I won't let her. You want to play dirty, Rachel? Jae-Hyun's voice was surgical precision wrapped in silk. He pulled out his phone, connected it to the conference room display. Let's play. The screen filled with security footage. Not hotel lobbies this time. Office cameras. Rachel's office, specifically. Date stamp. 3 days ago, 2:47 a.m. Rachel accessing the employee database. Scrolling through medical files. Downloading Amara's records to an external drive. Rachel's face went white. That's, she started. A federal crime? Yes. Jae-Hyun advanced on her slowly. Accessing sealed medical records without authorization violates HIPAA. 3 to 10 years in prison minimum. I was acting in the company's interests. You were acting in your own interest. As you have been for 3 years. He clicked to the next file. Bank statements. Offshore accounts. Transaction histories highlighting systematic fund transfers. Forensic accountants are very thorough when properly motivated. You've embezzled $2.3 million from the discretionary operations fund. Small amounts, carefully hidden, but traceable. The board members on screen leaned forward, expressions shifting from confusion to horror. The wire transfers to your Cayman account, Jae-Hyun continued, pulling up another document. The shell company you created to funnel money through fake vendor contracts. The bribes you paid those 3 employees to file false harassment claims against me. He turned to face the camera. I have documentation for everything. Names, dates, amounts. I've already forwarded copies to the SEC and the FBI. Rachel's composure cracked completely. You can't prove. I already have. I had my team investigate you the moment Amara told me you were watching us. You're brilliant, Rachel. But you got sloppy when you got desperate. The chairman's voice came through the speakers, grave and final. Ms. Voss, you have 1 hour to resign, or we involve law enforcement immediately. Rachel looked around the room, at the board members avoiding her eyes, at Amara standing tall, at Jae-Hyun who'd systematically dismantled her in under 5 minutes. Fine. Her voice was venom. But this doesn't change what you are, Mr. Park. A CEO who fucks his employees. That's the story that'll hit the press. That's what people will remember. Amara moved before Jae-Hyun could respond. She stepped between them, shoulders back, chin raised. No, she said quietly, powerfully. He's a CEO who fell for someone who challenged him, who saw past the title and the money and the power. I'm not a victim, Rachel. I'm not some naive girl who got taken advantage of. I'm a woman who made a choice. She turned to face the cameras, addressing the board directly. I chose him. Not because he's my boss. Not because of what he could do for my career. Because when I'm with him, I'm not afraid anymore. Not of feeling, not of wanting, not of being seen. Her voice strengthened. And if that makes me a liability to this company, then I'll resign right now. But I won't let you twist something real into something dirty, just because it's inconvenient. Silence filled the boardroom like water. Then the chairman cleared his throat. Ms. Voss, your resignation is accepted. Security will escort you out. As for Mr. Park and Ms. Vance. He paused, weighing words carefully. Manage your relationship as you see fit. Just don't let it impact the bottom line. This meeting is adjourned. The screens went dark. Rachel grabbed her tablet, movements jerky with rage. 2 security guards appeared in the doorway. She walked past Amara, leaned close enough to whisper. This isn't over. You have no idea what he's capable of. What he's done. Then she was gone, heels clicking down the hallway like gunshots. The empty boardroom felt cavernous. Just Amara and Jae-Hyun, standing in the wreckage of what should have been her career ending. Thank you, he said softly. For what? For fighting for us. I didn't expect. I know. She crossed to him, touched his face. You expected me to run. To choose safety over risk. But that night in the hotel? You told me I was thinking about running or staying. You chose staying. I'm still choosing it. She kissed him, gentle and sure. Even when it's terrifying. His arms wrapped around her, and for one perfect moment, the world was just them. Then his phone buzzed. And buzzed again. And didn't stop. He pulled it out. His expression shifted from relief to dread. What? Amara asked. He turned the screen toward her. News alerts flooding in. CEO's secret romance rocks Hexagon Media. Park and Vance. Office affair or true love. Hashtag CEO scandal trends on Twitter. How did they? Amara started. Rachel. She leaked it before she left. Jae-Hyun scrolled through notifications. Texts from investors, board members, his father's lawyer. This is going to be everywhere. Amara's phone erupted too. Her grandmother's church friends. Her college roommate. Maya from accounting with 7 question marks. Everyone she'd ever known, suddenly very interested in her personal life. This is insane, she breathed. Jae-Hyun pocketed his phone. Took her hand. Then let's be insane together. He led her to the executive elevator, past gawking employees and whispered conversations. Outside the building, reporters had already gathered. Cameras, microphones, shouted questions that blurred into white noise. Mr. Park, is it true you're dating an employee? How long has this been going on? Ms. Vance, were you coerced? Jae-Hyun kept walking, hand tight around Amara's. His driver appeared with the car. They slipped inside, and the tinted windows cut off the chaos. I'm sorry, he said as they pulled away from the curb. I thought I could control the narrative. I was wrong. We both were. Amara leaned against him, exhausted. What happens now? Now we deal with the fallout. Together. The words settled warm in her chest. Together. Not running. Not hiding. Together. His penthouse was sanctuary, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park, minimalist furniture that spoke of someone who valued space over clutter. Like he designed his life to hold as few people as possible. Amara stood at the windows, watching the city lights blur into constellations. Behind her, she heard Jae-Hyun on the phone with his lawyer, his publicist, damage control in motion. When he finally hung up, he came to stand beside her. "My father called," he said quietly. "He wants me to issue a statement. Something about maintaining professional standards and taking time to reflect." Translation: break up with me publicly to save face. Yes. And I told him to go to hell. Jae-Hyun turned her to face him. "I'm offering you something. Not as your CEO. As the man who hasn't stopped thinking about you since that night." He pulled a small box from his pocket. Inside, a key. Simple, silver, no fanfare. "Move in with me," he said. "Not because I own you or control you. Because I want to wake up next to you every morning. Because I want to argue about who makes coffee and whose turn it is to buy groceries. Because you're the only person who's ever made me feel like being myself is enough." Amara stared at the key. This was too fast. Too public. Too everything her grandmother had warned her against. But her grandmother had also taught her to fight for what mattered. "Yes," she whispered. Relief transformed his face. He kissed her, slow and deep, like sealing a promise. "I have boxes to pack," she said against his lips. "Tomorrow. Tonight, just stay." They ordered Thai food. Sat on his obscenely expensive couch eating pad, CEW straight from the containers. Talked about nothing important, childhood pets, worst concert experiences, whether pineapple belonged on pizza. Normal. Impossibly normal. At midnight, curled together in his bed, Amara felt something she'd never let herself feel before. Safe. Then his phone buzzed. He ignored it. It buzzed again. And again. "Check it," Amara said. "Could be important." Jae-Hyun grabbed the phone, squinted at the screen. His expression went rigid. "What?" she asked. He showed her the text. "Unknown number. Congratulations on the relationship. My client is prepared to pay $5 million for an exclusive interview about your one-night stand. Contact us by 9 a.m. or we contact her directly. TMZ. They can't make you talk," Amara said. "They can make our lives hell trying." He typed something back, deleted it. "Maybe I should just do the interview. Control the story before they twist it. Or we ignore them. Let them write what they want. We know the truth. The truth doesn't sell magazines." His phone buzzed again. Different number. Asterisk nice try with Rachel. But you can't bury everything. Park. Some secrets refuse to stay buried. Asterisk. Jae-Hyun went completely still. The kind of still that meant danger. "Who is that?" Amara asked. "No one." Spam. But his voice was wrong. Tight. False. Before she could push, his apartment intercom buzzed. The doorman's voice crackled through. "Mr. Park? There's a woman here. Says it's urgent. A Ms. Rachel Voss." Amara sat up. What the hell? Jae-Hyun was already moving to the video screen by the door. The lobby camera showed Rachel, holding a manila envelope, looking directly at the lens. "Let me in, Jae-Hyun," she said, voice carrying through the speaker. "Or everyone learns about your brother." The words landed like a bomb. Amara turned slowly. "What brother?" Jae-Hyun's face had gone white. Completely bloodless. "Amara. You said you had a brother. Jin-woo. You said he died when you were 19. Her heart hammered. What is she talking about? "I can explain." "You have a brother?" Her voice pitched higher. "A living brother?" "Had. I had a brother. He's dead." "But that's not." He looked at the camera. At Rachel's satisfied smile. "She's going to say I killed him." The room tilted. Amara's hand went to the doorknob instinctively, then froze. "Did you?" The question came out broken. "Did you kill him?" "Amara, please. Don't open that door." The doorbell rang. Long, insistent. Rachel's voice echoed through. 543. Every instinct screamed at Amara to walk away. To run like she should have run that first night in the hotel bar. To protect herself from whatever darkness Rachel was about to unleash. But she looked at Jae-Hyun, really looked at him, at the terror in his eyes, the way he was barely breathing, the raw vulnerability that said this secret was the one thing he'd never wanted exposed. Ella, he said quietly, using her name like a prayer. Trust me. The doorbell rang again. Rachel. 2-1. Amara's hand shook on the doorknob. Behind her, Jae-Hyun stood frozen, everything he was hanging in the balance of her choice. Open the door and learn the truth, or walk away and never know what he's hiding. Tell me right now, she said, not turning around. Did you kill your brother? Yes. The word hung in the air like smoke. And no, he added. It's complicated. It's... The doorbell's final ring cut him off. Amara's fingers tightened on the handle. Trust or truth. She couldn't have both. She made her choice. The lock clicked open. Rachel stood in the doorway, envelope raised like a weapon, smile sharp enough to draw blood. Thank you for being reasonable, Ms. Vance. Now then, shall we discuss what really happened to Jae-Hyun Park? Or should I save it for my exclusive tell-all interview tomorrow morning? Behind Amara, Jae-Hyun made a sound like something breaking. And the door swung wide. The end of Season 1. Will Amara discover the truth about Jae-Hyun? Can their relationship survive Jae-Hyun's darkest secret? Subscribe to Mystic Tale by Luna for Season 2 and comment, Team Amara or Team Jae-Hyun?